You're listening to Inclusive AF with Jackye Clayton and Katee Van Horn.
Welcome, welcome. This is Katee Van Horn.
And this is Jackye Clayton.
And this is the Inclusive AF podcast. I have no idea what we're talking about today because Jackye and Eric decided without me. And so, which is perfect. It's perfectly fine. And I support this 100%. So I am here merely to record this episode and be an observer. So Eric Bailey, welcome back.
Thank you. Thanks for having me back.
Of course.
We'll have some fun today. We'll tease you a little bit too as we go.
That's good. That's good. I like it. So, what's new and exciting in your world, Eric?
Everything is new. Everything is, the whole world is upside down, and a lot of wonderful things happening in the business, but a lot of just very unique things happening. So a lot of people are asking me like, hey, how's your DEI business? And, DEI is a big part of what we do. It's not the majority of what we do, but we're seeing a lot of really unexpected things happen. So like some of our DEI clients that we've had for years are now like doubling down, and they're like, we need more. We want more. We want to make sure people know we want more. So the people they're in it and they get it, they understand how important it is right now. And some people are, lipstick on a pig, just changing the name of it, doing the same thing. And then we're getting a lot of unique folks coming in saying, we really want to focus on belonging. And we're like, that's kind of what we've been doing the entire time. And they're like, really? Because it seems so important right now. Like, yes, it really is. And so we're doing a lot of work like that and just helping people understand each other and learn how to have difficult conversations and keep things moving forward. So we're doing a lot. We're kind of here, there, and everywhere doing a lot of work.
Well, I think you should give people, me and Katee know and love you very much, but tell our audience who maybe they, for some reason, didn't catch that first episode, a little bit more about your background, what you've been doing. I met Eric at WorkHuman a number of years ago, and so that's our connection. I know you've been friends with Katee for longer than that, but tell the audience a little bit more about what you do.
So Eric M. Bailey, I wrote a book in 2019, actually right before my very first WorkHuman, called The Cure for Stupidity, using brain science to explain irrational behavior at work. And that I wrote it at a time when our country really started to divide. This is during the first Trump presidency, and it was like right was going farther right, left was going farther left, and we had this instant judgment of the other side, whichever side you're on, and they're stupid, they're idiots, they're sheep, they're dumb, they're evil, all the negative things. And I talk to people on all sides, and everyone is saying the same thing about the other side, like the same exact words about the other side. And so my background is in studying brain science, which isn't actually a real science. It's a collection of a bunch of different disciplines. So it's neuroscience, it's psychology, linguistics, anthropology, all that kind of comes together, called brain science. And I found that there's some basic human things that help explain how we got here. Like very, very simple. Like, why do we get so upset and annoyed when someone can't follow our very clear instructions on how to get to our house? Like I said, turn at the mailbox, and they called me and say I got lost. Well, to me, all of the extra understanding I have, I mean, you turn at the mailbox that you turn at. It makes sense to me, but to them, they see a mailbox and turn there. The one I'm talking about is the third mailbox. And so like we have all these natural things that happen, and it perfectly predicts why we are where we are. And I think that if we learn to leverage these tools of understanding, then we can really kind of lower the temperature, and we can start to re-engage with each other when we disagree. And so that's what I do. International keynote speaker. I run a consulting firm. We do a lot of work in, obviously DEIB. We do strategic planning. We do leadership development. We do coaching, all that kind of basic stuff. But really, we just help humans communicate better with humans. That's what we're up to.
I read his book on a beach in Cancun. That's what I can tell you about The Cure for Stupidity. And I think I still have a picture to prove it that I don't remember if I sent it to you or
You
not.
did, you did.
Yes, okay. Yes.
I get random text messages from people with my book in unique places, and that was the only one that I've received so far that made me jealous.
Yeah, I was very happy to be reading it on a beach. Yes, it was a good one. It was a good one. Anyhow, so what do you guys want to talk about? Jackye, what did you guys?
No, we were talking about like the state of work and how that was what we were looking into about. It is ironic that so many, had an instant reaction without knowing like what was going to happen. It's just like, oh, I'm going to drop DEIB and then say, hey, we just want to make sure that it's fair at work. And you're like, oh yeah, sounds like DEI to me, whatever you want to call it. And that we're getting more opportunities I'm starting to slowly see more people saying like, hey, we're having a problem with engagement. We're having challenges internally. People don't feel like they're being heard, like everything. And it's almost like the format of DEIB. So I wanted to know from Eric, like what he's seeing, what kind of things has it shifted, and what kind of things are people looking at, and how would you say it's changed? Or and I understand people that have already like understood like what DEIB has that as one of their core values, but I'm wondering with newer clients or newer people reaching out to you specifically because like what is stupid now? Like, it might be a little different.
Yeah, it's funny. Our clients that are reaching out, what they're dealing with now is a lot of change management. And so I talk with them whenever I sit down with a new client. Okay, what are you dealing with? What are the issues? What are the recent things that have happened over the last 6-12 months? And they're like, oh, we've had so many changes, a lot of changes, a lot of leadership changes, a lot of culture changes. And okay, well, what's changing? And like, well, we really want to focus on making sure people feel that they belong. And I'm like, and how is that different? And they're like, well, it's not really different, but there's just certain things we can't say anymore. And I'm like, okay, so what is it that you can't say? And like, well, we can't say diversity. I'm like, well, okay, why not? What is it about diversity that you don't want to talk about? Well, and eventually we get down to it's like, oh, you don't want to talk about race, you don't want to talk about gender, you don't want to talk about sexual orientation. Like those are the three things that they said that they can't talk about. But when it comes to actual diversity, they really want to talk about it. They want to talk about age. They want to talk about different generations. They want to talk about different abilities. They want to talk about different mental capacities. They want to talk about, there's all these different elements of diversity that they really want to talk about. And so when I start to break it down with folks, they're like, oh yeah, actually we really do want to talk about diversity. We do really want to highlight and understand that we are all different. Great. Now, once we have that, now what? Well, we want to make sure that everyone feels that they belong here. Okay, so you want to talk about diversity and belonging. Oh, and when you start to have the conversations, what people want now is the same thing that they wanted before. There's just this kind of societal conversation that these things are bad. And so they're trying to avoid it because of that societal conversation. But when we break it down, it's like, oh, this is exactly what we want. And so people are saying, everything has changed, but really nothing has changed. Mm-hmm. What we really want to do is we want people in our organizations to feel that they belong. We want them to be productive. We want them to be engaged, and we want them to stick around. And the issues that they're facing all are addressed by these things that we have been addressing for a while. The only thing that's different is that we've come to this kind of cultural understanding. I'm just saying we globally. We've come to this cultural understanding that, equity is a bad thing. Okay, well, if you can reframe equity in a different context, it makes perfect sense. So I talk to people about the Electoral College. Isn't the Electoral College all about equity? And they're like, no. I'm like, well, what is it? Right? We want to make sure that people in smaller states have same voice as people in larger states. We want to make sure that they have an equal and equitable voice. Oh. Right. And there's these conversations that once we start to break it down, it's not much different than the conversations we've already had. And I think that that's something that kind of we as a society, we're not doing. We're not having those conversations. We're just kind of getting to the hot button issue and then disengaging. It's like, no. When things get hot, like that's the time to re-engage and engage more.
Well, that's actually called growth, right? Like we always know, like that feeling of discomfort is when it's you're growing and morphing into a new person. And that's what's always like a common challenge when you're trying to get people to feel that way. It's like, oh, doesn't feel good. It's really uncomfortable. People are unhappy. And you're like, no, that's exactly where the changes start happening. Like we know and anticipate that that's going to happen. It's how we do our trainings. It's how we schedule all of the things. We know that it's going to come up and prepare to deal with those. But then when you fire everybody who's prepared to deal with those, that makes it really tough.
Right. It really does.
So what is actually making me, like, I think the language piece has always been such a weaponized conversation, whatever. And, we know that there are words literally that the government is now saying you can't have or you can't use. And, I don't know. I know, Eric, that you work with some nonprofits and one of the things that a lot of them are doing right now is rewriting mission statements and vision statements because of this inability to use certain words any longer in their mission and vision statement or in an RFP process or in they're trying to get money for whatever. And so it's so fascinating to me because, to your point, it's the same work. It's the same stuff. You're literally just masking it under a different word or different language just so you don't get in trouble or don't have, someone, Ted Cruz, someone come after you and, have issues with what you're trying to achieve. And I think that's the part that also it's sad, honestly, because it is erasing this work, but it's not erasing the work. Like it's so dumb. It's such a dumb waste of time.
It's a waste of time. It's a waste of energy. It's a waste of resources. And I remember actually very similar situation back in 2020, 2021, when people started to have backlash against Black Lives Matter. And I remember someone saying, because I have a couple of videos about Black Lives Matter and how do you handle the conversation? Well, all lives matter or whatever. And I had a wonderful video series about that. But people will come to me and they have, very, very honest, private, candid conversations. It's like, it seems like, based on your explanation here, that if they only use different words, it would be different. And I'm like, here's the thing. No, it wouldn't. Because the reason that the words are offensive or inflammatory is because someone decided that pointing at the words instead of at what they're really feeling, that's the reason that there's a problem. And if you use different words, you're going to have the same issue. We'll never know that because we can't change the words. But what's going to happen, right now we're going through, we're changing all of the language, still doing the same stuff. And we're going to have the same issues. And we've seen this, cycle after cycle over the last 80 years.
Right.
Like we change the language and then people who pointed at the words as the problem still have the same problem. And they're going to point at the next set of language. And what we're doing is we're just wasting time. And some people are going to turn around, pat themselves on the back and say, yeah, we got a win here. Look at us. We got that changed. But nothing has changed. Nothing is going to change because progress continues to progress.
Right.
And that's the world that we're living in. So I hate seeing that because people are taking on so much extra work that they don't have to take on. They're taking on so much stress. Like you said, there are a bunch of nonprofits. I've got people who I actually serve on a board for Solari, which is the crisis prevention hotline, the suicide prevention hotline. They run it for a bunch of different states, and funding was cut early on And then these are people who at one point in time called the suicide prevention hotline. Someone saved their life. And they were so moved and touched by that they go and work for Solari later. Like, these are people who want purely to touch lives and save lives. And because of the government funding and all of this weird stuff, if you do this wrong, whatever, now those people can no longer work there. Like, funding was cut for the suicide prevention hotline. And it's just, it's infuriating. It's sad. It's worrisome. And the thing that I worry about is what are the life impacts of these things, right? How many people are because of their extra stress load, because they have to rewrite their entire mission statement with their board, and it's going to take another 8 months. How many people are having heart attacks because of that extra stress burden? How many people are having strokes? How many people aren't going to be able to call the line they need to call? Anyway, I'm kind of going off on a tangent, but
no, I mean, how are these people sleeping? I mean, that's the whole thing when you're going against it. Like, you know, I've also had conversations with people that have been like, oh, we're not going to be able to work together because they're too afraid that of your, like, the DEIB part, and we don't want to have that part, you know, with all the different things. You can't feel good about yourself saying that. Like, you can't feel like there's been people, oh, we're just going to change that part of the work. It affects the whole organization. And we have AI now. So you're going to just drive disengagement really fast and automated.
Yeah. Right.
You know, the timing.
And I think going back to one of your earlier points, Eric, that, you know, nothing's going to change. And I think that's part of the point, though, right? Is that the folks that are opposed to using words like diversity, using words like equity, they don't want those things to be, they don't want equitable workplaces. They don't want to have folks that feel safe and showing up as themselves at work. And so that is the point. And then to your next point, like the mental gymnastics of having to go, okay, I can't use this word, but this is what we're trying to do. And this is how we're trying to do it. And, oh, I can't write up an ESG report because that is too woke, which I truly don't understand. But like all of these things, it is just like, the point is to waste time and limit progress.
Yeah.
I think it's also important to recognize that, you know, for some of us, that's how we live our life every day anyway.
Yeah.
Right. Where it's like, I'm always jumping through hoops and like trying to make someone else feel comfortable for their comfort, not my own, of getting used to it. And that's why some of the things has been really funny, this new movement where it's like, you know what, I'm just gonna give myself a self-care day when I feel like intrigued to do something. I'm gonna try to put myself in a better mind space, in a better space, and not feel like all the world on my shoulders, because there is only so much that I can do, because we're doing mental gymnastics just to get eggs at the grocery store. And now we're seeing more people that are, I'm a part of a board in Waco, and we do our Dios Los Muertos parade every year. And so we had to have a conversation about what are we doing for extra security? What can we do to make sure people feel safe? And we're talking about it. And then you have to say, how sad that this is part of the narrative that we have to have, that we're afraid that people aren't going to show up because, you know, is that really a thing? Where
a celebration, and it's a celebration. Like, it's not like it should not be anything controversial to have a Dia de los Muertos celebration.
Right.
I mean, to that point, I actually just saw a video yesterday about this woman from, I don't know, somewhere in South America, maybe Central America, and she was on vacation in, I want to say New York, California, no, there, somewhere in the US, and ICE grabbed her off the street, and she's like, I'm here on vacation and my son is right there. Like, they were on vacation, and she's getting arrested to be deported, but she's on vacation. And she's like, my son is right there, and they're taking her away and leaving him. And it's like, so I do a lot of work with governments, and there are certain governments that tourism is a big part of their budget. And if people see this and then they're like, you know what, I'm not going to go visit.
Right.
Like that, there are impacts to these things that are far beyond the expectation. There's the idea of unexpected consequences.
Mhm.
And I'm going to tell a brief story because, you know, you got me. So there was a problem with cobras, the very venomous snakes in some part of India. And so the government said, you know what, we need like, it's unsafe. There's so many cobras. We're going to put a bounty on cobras. So if you bring in a dead cobra, then we'll give you some money. I don't know what the number was, but bring some money. And so it was great. It started to lower the number of cobras, right, that people were seeing around. And of course, a couple of enterprising young men said, wait a minute, bring a cobra, get money. What if we just bred cobras? And so they start a cobra farm, and they start breeding cobras, and they start bringing cobras, like a money printing machine. And now, of course, like the government's like, wait a minute, there are too many cobras coming in. We got to stop the program. So they stop the program, and what does the farm do? Release all the cobras, because they're not making any money anymore. And now there are infinitely more cobras than they started with, because they didn't think about the downstream consequences. And I think there's so many things like that where I mean, these decisions are being made so rapidly. We're not thinking about downstream consequences. We're not thinking about what will happen. And some people are saying that that's part of the design. It's just chaos.
Yeah.
Like, remove programs, remove safeguards, remove all these things, and it sets our country back decades to rebuild them.
I'm going to give you some numbers. Are you ready, Eric?
Yes.
Because ChatGPT is my new friend. International arrivals fell 11.6% in March 2025 versus March 2024. So international arrivals into our airports. Forecasts suggest a 5 to 9% drop in international visitation for the year. Inbound visitor spending is expected to dip by 12.5 billion to 29 billion in 2025 compared to 2024. So like $30 billion less coming into our economy because we have ICE agents roaming the streets, picking up someone that's here on holiday.
Mm-hmm. This is a problem.
This is a problem, but please, let's make sure that we, are safe. We got to keep everybody safe. So,
equity.
yeah. And I think it's also, we are seeing all these boycotts, and I think folks are truly starting to understand this, unintended consequence, collateral damage, whatever you want to call it, of these dumb decisions that are happening around these topics that I'm very much in support of. If someone is here undocumented, that's doing bad things, they should go to jail, be deported, whatever it might be. I am not okay with them standing outside of immigration courts or just randomly picking people up off the streets that are doing nothing. Like, I don't understand what the logic is. Sorry, we're now going into immigration because it's on my mind. But it's like all of these things just add up to like, no, but seriously, what is happening? Like, where, and we do know what the outcome is, or where some folks in this country want to go, and it's just gross.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. It's just going to get worse. But again, let's just make sure we don't have diversity in our mission statement.
Right.
That's going to fix it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're Jackye and I were talking earlier about how we got here, and of course, infinite number of inputs to get here, so it's difficult to point. But one thing that I've seen as someone who has been on stage in front of thousands of people talking about diversity, and talk to other speakers who speak about diversity, is that the conversation sometimes makes people uncomfortable. the conversation sometimes draws up feelings that people aren't used to feeling. And in some cases, with some speakers, not me, but some speakers intentionally try to make people feel shame, feel guilt, feel kind of those kind of negative arresting feelings. And those are not productive. Those feelings do not make people change their behaviors, don't make people think differently, it makes people shut down and get defensive. But that happened so much that people just started to put in a blanket idea that I don't like this. It's not good for me. It's not good for us. I don't want it. But when we actually go through and have conversations and people have their eyes opened to something they've never seen before,
right?
They become awakened. And all of a sudden,
we're going to go from woke to
you did there. I see what you did there.
I see what you did there.
Thank you. And people who have gone through that experience are forever changed, and they see the world differently, and then they want to see more. Like, what else don't I know? And people are super curious, and they're teaching their friends, their family to be curious, and it's lovely, like the perfect idea. And there's some folks who had the kind of the opposite experience. They felt shame, guilt, whatever. That's bad. That's bad. You're trying to make me feel bad for being white. It's like, absolutely not at all. No, you should never feel bad for who you are or how you identify. You are you, and we are glad you're here. But those people say, I don't want to be awakened. That is bad. Being woke is bad. And that's how we got here. And I'm an optimist. I'm a pacifist. I'm a lover, not a fighter. Like I'm that guy. And I truly believe that if we still learned how to engage each other when we disagree, if we learned how to understand and make people feel that we're hearing them, like the defensive reactions would go down, the fighting would go down, the listening would go up, the collaborating would go up, and people would say, oh, I never knew that. I never knew that you would experience that way. And a good example that I have is I was talking with a woman one time, and she told me that every time she walks to her car at night, she puts keys between her fingers. And to me, as a man who's never been afraid to walk to my car, like that made no sense to me. And when she told me, my first reaction was, that's stupid. Why would you do that? That makes no sense. And she explained it to me. She's like, I'm always afraid at night. Always. Like, I'm not like shaking and terrified, but I'm always, there's a part of my brain that's constantly alert. And I'm like, I've never experienced that. And only when I could hear her and understand her could my heart open. And now I'm more understanding of literally 50.2% of the population, right? I understand. And it only happened through that process of awakening. And I think that if we took more time to understand each other, like all this BS that we're dealing with right now, it wouldn't happen. It would not happen. I'll tell another story later, but I've been talking too long.
Not been talking too long. I'm fascinated. I mean,
yeah,
I see you on a stage. I've been one of the thousands of people, so I could listen to you all day.
No, I was talking to this guy. I did a DEI session it was virtual, in Cobb County, Georgia. And it was with the water authority. So Cobb County is a rural area outside of Atlanta. And this was the water authority. And it wasn't like a leadership retreat. It was literally just a DEI session for all the employees of the water district. Like, these are like self-proclaimed old white dudes who have been turning wrenches for 30 years. And, most of them bald with goatees. And I'm not making that up. That's what they said to me. And I did my thing, and I talk about privilege. I talk about what diversity really means. I talk about what bias really means. I do my thing. And this guy emails me afterwards, and he says, Eric, I've never once felt welcome in a diversity session. And I'm like, that's really interesting language he chose. I never felt welcome. He said, I never wanted to go to one. I've never learned anything in one. But when you talked about privilege, it changed something in me. It changed my mind. It changed my thinking. And I went home that night and I talked to my wife about it at dinner. He's like, first and foremost, like, we never talk at dinner, so thank you for that. But he's like, I realized that all of this resistance that I had wasn't founded in reality. It was founded in this emotional wall that I had built up. And now that that's gone down, like, I can't wait to talk about this with my kids. It's like, he's like, I'm an old white dude and I know that that's okay. And I'm like, yes, it's okay to be an old white dude. There's no enemy in this. Like, we are trying to do something together, and you are you and I am me, and we both exist. And if you're saying I shouldn't exist, that's a problem. If I'm saying you shouldn't exist, that's a problem. It's the same problem. And so what we're really trying to do is we're really trying to get to a place that I can realize that your experience of life is vastly different than mine. And if we spend time talking, I can learn about your experience. I can learn about what it might feel like for you to walk through a grocery store in a brand new place. Because my experience is totally different. As you were saying earlier, Jackye, like, I'm always monitoring to see if other people feel safe around me. I don't know if you feel that way. Do you feel that way? And he's like, yeah, I've never thought that in my life.
Right.
And that's the goal in all this. It's not about like the words. It's not about woke. It's not about the, it's about seeing the world that is infinitely complex in more and more complex ways.
I appreciate that so much. I have traveled and had been blessed enough to go to international countries. But I think what was so interesting about being on The Amazing Race is that we were in a race. Like, we had to go somewhere and I couldn't have my phone and doing all the things. And I was explaining it to somebody else and they were like, do they speak English in Hong Kong? I was like, some people.
Yeah.
What do they speak in Hong Kong? Lots of languages. There's lots of languages. Well, how did you talk? I could only talk to the people who spoke English.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, well, I'll just stay home. Right. And it's like, I was like, but wait, did you see? Like, I got to go see that huge Buddha. Like, we don't have that here. And I got to go to this opera center and I got to go to this thing and I had the best French toast ever. And I got to see like all of these things that you're missing out of. And that's what is the beauty of it. I am of the part where I don't try to change hearts and minds. I try to change systems that will give you a better opportunity to change your own heart and mind. Like, I'm going to try to set up an environment where you can do that on your own. But it's like, after you get to that part, the hearts and mind part, when you're curious to what you were saying, there's so much of this world that is like, you're missing out. And it's not, we talk about it for other people just to get along, but you're just missing out on being your best self. Because you don't even know what it is. Like, I have delusions of grandeur and always thought that I should be an Olympian. I'm still looking for my sport. I'm an Olympic hopeful. But I remember watching it when I was a little kid and being like, what if I'm supposed to be a downhill skier? And I'm in Texas and we don't have any downhills.
Right.
I want you to join the breakdancing. Make that.
No, I know that's
I think we might get rid of it after this.
Yeah, it's not happening next year.
I don't know if it's going to stay with us. That was
3,000% sure that's not the sport. But I mean, like, but what was so interesting is, like, I was telling my parents, it was like, okay, then we just started playing all the sports, right? Like, let's just try them out and see what you like and what you want to do. And it's the same thing where it's like, what if you could be better? What if there's a piece of world that you couldn't see that could change your life forever? You know, all of these opportunities but I mean, you don't have to go that broad. What if there's somebody lives next door that could change your life forever?
Right. Well, and I think that's part of it. It's just like, it's the just sitting down and having that conversation, Eric, like you were saying, like sitting at the dinner table with his kids, having conversations that he would not have had before, going to a foreign country and going, tell me about what you guys do what is your meal that you have for dinner or anything, just that learning and that growth and like how that opens your eyes to just experiences and people and all of the good stuff. It just makes life much more interesting.
Yeah,
does.
it really does. And Jackye, I love that you highlighted international travel because, you know, when you spend time just seeing how the world operates in different places, it's like, oh, I never could have imagined that. I never could have imagined. We went to Venice, Italy, and everyone's like, oh, don't go to Venice, it's terrible, it's terrible. We went, and my kids just loved it. They're like, they never thought of like what the world could be if the roads were water. You know, like it's totally different, and it opened their mind that what else don't I know?
Right.
Right.
And like, and that's it. Or like, you know, I've never taken my kids to Asia, but if you ever see like rice paddies, rice terraces in Asia, it's like, what?
Right.
And it's
Or when
it's
you
so,
do and you see the water buffaloes that are getting that right, you're like, what is happening right now?
yes,
How much more respect for rice if you saw how people are getting rice.
right.
Exactly.
It's
Exactly.
it's our world is so beautiful and so amazing, and I think that a lot of people they never leave this little circle. And if you never leave this little circle, you just have this reinforcing idea that this circle is the way the world is. And when people go out, this is why people have such a hard time with different accents. Like,
Yes.
what do you mean you say that word like that? That's bizarre. Because in my little circle, this is how that word is said. And then we reinforce our entire lives. Like, anyone who says it differently must be totally bizarre.
Wackadoo. Yeah.
Yeah. But
I
you
don't know
start
if you saw this last week. I posted there's a woman like who is suing because there's AI internally. She was um not giving a promotion because she's hard of hearing and has an accent, and the AI couldn't understand her, and it was going to be required to use the AI, and they said that it couldn't understand her, and so they weren't going to give her the promotion, and so she's suing.
my gosh.
Like, there's so many things to unravel there, but it's like, wait, it's like, no, you should be able to understand me. Like, that's just one example. There's other people that couldn't understand. And it's interesting when you start talking to people from other countries, how you can tune your ear from where somebody's from in the world. And so you learn English as a second language all over the world. You can even that start with that. Maybe you don't learn German or, Spanish or Swahili, but you can learn English as a second language in this part of the world.
Yeah.
You will have so much more opportunities of learning.
My fun is I have as you guys, I think you guys both know, I have a CFO that is German, and he likes to come up with expressions that he thinks are English expressions. So and I literally, I need to start writing them down because they're so funny. And and he's trying to so today he was trying to think of the running around with like a chicken with your head cut off. But instead he said like a chicken in handcuffs. And I was like, that's not it.
Be interesting.
But it's interesting. Yeah. But they're hilarious because every one of them that he comes up with, it is like this entertaining, like, what is he trying to what is this saying he's trying to think of in English that he can't remember right now? But also this man knows 6 languages. So I'm like, I understand. And you could say any words you want and we'll figure it out but it does entertain me.
It's interesting. So one, here's an idea for you. Write them all down, release it as a book, illustrated. You'll make a bunch of money. Two, it is really fun learning the idioms of different countries and trying to translate them. So there's one in Portugal. I've never been to Portugal, but a good friend of mine, she goes there every year. And one of them is you take the bike. It's translated, you take the bike. And so what happens is if you're like fighting with someone, arguing back and forth, and whatever, like I give up, whatever. The phrase they say is you take the bike. I don't know where it comes from, but it's just like, I guess two people were arguing over a bike and like, you take the bike. I guess that's where the origin was.
Yeah.
But learning those sorts of things, it's so fascinating because diversity, right? Because our world is so diverse, and the ways in which we leverage our speech is unique. And it's so fun learning those sorts of things. I was 16 and I was on an exchange program, a cultural exchange program. I was in Mexico. And so they got a group of kids and they literally shipped them off to Mexico for a month. And it was just a kind of a cultural exchange. I lived with a family. And one of the first excursions we did was to this like pottery painting place. And so we're making the pottery, painting the pottery, and my host mother, I see her car drive up toward the end of this thing. And so I say, from inside, I see her through the door and passing her car. And so I say, come on in, come on in. And I signal to her, come in. And she drives off and I'm like, okay, she's parking. And she comes back a half an hour later. And I was like, where did she go? And I learned that in that part of Mexico, come is this way and go is that way. And so I'm doing this and she thinks I'm saying, go away.
Yeah, I gotta get out of
here. I
here.
want her to come. I would have gone this way.
Oh my
and it's
God.
like, how would I have ever known that? They were just talking to sign language, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it was fascinating. I still remember that so vividly, like wondering, like, where is she ever going to pick me up? Like, anyway.
Where'd she go? Yeah. That's awesome. Well, and I think it's also the other half to that is the amount of wonderful expressions and idioms and colloquialisms that we have in the US that people are literally like, what are you talking about? I mean, even just within my own family. And again, you guys have heard quite a few of them, like holy leather, all kinds of fun stuff that it's like, I don't know what that means or why I started using it or what. Yeah, just an expression. But, it's one of those things that we have a lot of these in our family. And I'm sure everyone else as well. So
Just want people to not miss out
yeah,
on life. It's short. There's not, I meet people who are like born and raised in Texas, who've never been on a plane, who's never left Texas.
right.
That's sad.
Yeah.
Because the world really isn't like Texas.
No.
Yeah.
To them, they can just go to like Vermont and feel like they're in Hong Kong because it is not the same.
No, but you make a good point. Like we did a road trip in September of last year, some of my friends and I, and it was like it was just different. And it was like, there were just different things. And that's the other part. Like Eric, you and I both live in Arizona, but you're on the West Side. I'm in Central Phoenix, two different worlds, literally with, just what you can experience, who's around, all these different things. And it is just fascinating. So, and Waco's Waco. Jackye,
Girl,
Waco.
I mean,
too
much about that. And Waco.
Yeah.
It just is.
Waco's wonderful. Anyhow. Well, Eric, we could sit here and just talk to you all day because it's our favorite. Thank you for taking the time to chat with us, but would love to hear what is one thing that you want to make sure our listeners hear from this episode?
Ooh.
And it doesn't have to be one really, Eric, because we say that every time and then it's like each of us have 20. So feel free.
The thing I want people to walk away from thinking is, how can we make the world better through understanding and curiosity? I think we spend so much time trying to tell, trying to teach, trying to explain, and we don't spend enough time trying to listen, trying to understand, trying to learn. And I think that if we just, it's not like all the time, you don't have to always listen. Like we're allowed to speak and talk. But if we spend just a marginal amount of time trying to learn, understand, and listen, the world around us will change. It will be different because the people around us will feel heard. The people around us will feel listened to, will feel like they have an opportunity to teach. We'll actually give them some power. And when we give people power, they tend to lower their defenses. They tend to be more kind. They tend to be more understanding. I mean, even think just not even about DEIB, but like you have an argument with somebody, a significant other, a loved one, a spouse, family member, coworker, and you just say, you know what? I didn't know that.
Right.
Like literally just say, I didn't know. Instead of saying, yeah, I know. Yeah, I saw it before. Like, oh, I didn't know that. or thanks, or I'm grateful you shared that with me, it's going to do something different to the relationship. It's going to change the way you engage with each other. And honestly, I'm seeing this so much right now with my kids. They're in their last day of summer break, and it's like they're so unwilling to be emotionally moved by something someone else has to say. And someone says, oh my gosh, I'm so excited, I just saw this bird. And someone's like, yeah, I've seen that before. That may be true, you've seen it before, but someone's expressing excitement, and you have an opportunity to live in that excitement with them.
Right.
To be curious with them. And you can say, oh my gosh, that's so cool. Whether or not you've seen it before, it does not matter whether you've seen it before. Just be in it with them, understand them, be in there. And I think that if we did that, the people around us would show up happier. They show up with less frustration, with lowered stress. People would show up wanting to be curious about us. And then our world is different.
Right. Absolutely. Jackye, what you got?
I just hope that people can hear the hope there. We talked about a lot of different things that aren't necessarily as fun, and it was a fun conversation today. And a friendly reminder that we have each other, right? If it doesn't, you can call us. If you're not sure, we'll try to have a conversation. But I just think that there's still a lot of hope, and I'm glad to know that you're, still doing the work, and that we're hearing more people that are still interested in trying to make fair, inclusive workplaces. It's so important.
As long as you don't call it that. Don't call it fair and inclusive.
I said fair and inclusive. I didn't say diverse.
I think those two words are all fair and inclusive are also on Ted Cruz's list of not able
Dang.
to. So yeah.
Okay, next time.
You're gonna have to work for it. So I think for me, it's always fun to chat with you, Eric. But I think really for me, it is yes, we need to keep reminding ourselves what the end goal is, what the right end goal is. So all of this stuff is a distraction. All of this stuff that's going on is trying to derail us from moving towards a place of taking care of each other, making sure each other is safe, making sure each other has what they need to have a great life work-wise, have a great life personally, all of these things. And so just reminding folks of that like the language, don't get so derailed by the language or by the silliness that's going on in the world that you forget that at the end of the day, it's go learn about each other, go take care of each other, all of these things. So Eric, thank you for joining us again for part 2. We always love to have you, and we will see you in a few months at HR Tech. We didn't ask you anything you want to promote right now for the listeners, anything you'd like to share other than go buy your book.
Yeah, go buy the book. That's the main thing. And so it's been a few years that this book's been out, but I think that there's never been a more appropriate time for my book.
Yes.
So The Cure for Stupidity, you can get at thecureforstupidity.com, or you can get it on Amazon or any of those other things. But grab the book, give it a read, buy it for your friends, buy it for your neighbor you're arguing with, buy it for your spouse, but make sure be careful how you give it to them. The world needs it.
That would not be a good anniversary or birthday gift.
No,
so we're all on the same page. It would be, but it wouldn't be.
Right, exactly.
Would it be a smart move? Awesome. Well, thank you so much. This is Katee Van Horn.
And this is Jackye Clayton.
Bye.
Bye.